Everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Liberty Weekly podcast. I'm your host, as always, Patrick McFarlane, and this one is episode 138, and the show notes may be found at libertyweekly.net/138. And I am joined with Eric Hailar of With the Cause. How are you doing? Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes, most of the time, people mispronounce it like all different kinds of ways. And when I moved down here to Louisiana, someone tried to Cajuanize my last name, and I'm like, oh, no, don't do that. Is it Hallie? No, not even close. Not even in the same ballpark.
Well, I don't know. If I was talking on a podcast recently, I said I basically, for some reason, since I studied German, whenever I don't know a word, I tried to pronounce it with a German, like the way Germans would.
Yeah.
I don't know why I do that. It's so stupid.
Well, that actually works because my last name is German. So.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. So. Yeah, it's supposed to be spelled with the E's, but when they came over to Ellis Island in like the 1900s, somebody wrote down A's instead. So.
Yeah, I'm sure. So is that something it's in your like family mythology or something?
Yeah, we've got a whole bunch. I'm also a quarter Scot, so the family history on that is several people from the clan decided to invade York one weekend in the 1700s, and they all got rounded up, and instead of killing them, they just sent them to the New World. Just it's like, here you go, scratch out a living in the hills.
Well, so we were talking about this before we went on, but we tried to record an episode back in, I think, April of 2019. It was. Yeah. We got a visit from Dark Tom Woods.
Yes. He's been quite the bastard recently. My last episode, he like started throttling my internet connection like right towards the end when I was trying to get my guests to do their plugs. So I had to like jump in there and give them their plugs for them.
Yeah. Oh, that's always awkward.
Yeah. So it's like they started doing like the digital pixelation of the audio and everything. I was like, oh, you.
The best time. And then like, if you're trying to do video versions too, it's like, okay, well, there's an hour and a half of editing right there. Great. So I was thinking that the audience should be familiar with your show because, and this is the reason why, even though you haven't been on the show before, when I go into iTunes and I look at the Apple Podcast thing, your show is always suggested on my page.
Nice.
And
it might be for yours.
Yeah. So we must share a lot of audience, but for those of my audience who don't know who you are, you want to fill them in a little bit?
Yeah. So in 2017, I decided to start doing a podcast. It started kind of like in my car. I was just kind of recording with the iPhone and everything, just putting out these like little 20-minute little news rants. And it's just steadily been growing from there. Started getting guests on because people really like the interview conversation style that I have. Occasionally I'll do like a solo episode if I can't get anybody to come on or somebody drops off. You never know how scheduling goes. So, but it's been fun for the last 3 years. And so big news, I actually am going on a podcast hiatus because I'm working on a special project until February. So February 1st, I'll be back with new episodes.
So am I getting the last episode that you're doing then?
Yeah, my last episode was with Nev and Harley, the cryptid bartender, that came out last week. So yeah, this will be like my last appearance anywhere, at least until February. So I don't know, unless somebody like Pete or somebody else decides to have me on. Who knows?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, sometimes those hiatuses, I don't know if that's the proper plural of that, but sometimes it can be useful. You recharge the batteries a little bit. Yeah. I was gone for like 9 months or something, but
yeah, I mean, you were gone for quite a while. I was like, okay, Patrick, you got to come back.
Yeah,
you got to come back.
I appreciate it. I remember I put out an episode called The End ... something, and I was kind of teasing, but I think Mance reached out to me, or Pete reached out to me. He'll always be Mance to me, but
yes, he'll always be Mance to me as well. So
yeah, same. I like it. I don't know, but he reached out to me and he was like, so what's going on? But
I will say that for Pete, he is like always checking up on us. He's always like reaching out, seeing how everyone's doing.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah, definitely. and definitely grateful for that, to be thought of. And everybody, I mean, it's always been my thing that, I don't know, there's not such thing as too many libertarian podcasts.
Oh,
So
every single libertarian needs to have a podcast of their own.
yeah, Anchor.fm plug right here. Anyways,
yes.
But yeah, so when I decided to come back, it was because everything started getting so crazy, and I was like, well, I can't just sit on the sideline,
That's actually kind of my fear going into this little hiatus thing while I'm working on my little project. I was like, I know I'm just going to see something in the news and I'm going to have to come back to comment on it. So
yeah, you will.
Yeah.
Well, do you have a little tease for what your project is, or are you keeping it a secret?
I'm keeping it a secret right now. I'm posting like little hints on Twitter, kind of like as a subtweet with no context. So it'll be kind of fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so like, what are your thoughts then on, I mean, have you been paying attention to all the voter fraud stuff?
Oh my God. Yes, I'm an election fraud truther and I have been since George W. Bush. So yeah, at every single election, some kind of goofiness happens with voter rolls and, who's allowed to vote, who's not allowed to vote, how many of these votes actually got counted, and the whole thing down in Florida for the 2000 election, where we get pictures of people sitting in a room staring at a punch card. And then it's like, it's the year 2000. We should not have punch cards anymore. It's kind of silly. And then here, 20 years later, and I shudder even saying that word out loud 20 years later. But, we're going through the same thing. People are putting up pizza boxes in a room to keep the poll watchers and everything from seeing what they're doing. I mean, obviously something's going on there. This latest story where he had one person from the mail service said, yeah, there was definitely some stuff going on outside the sorting facility. And then later they said, yeah, he just recanted that story. And then he had to get out and say, no, I haven't recanted the story. That's fake news, So it's crazy. It's just crazy. I do like owning the Biden people a little bit because they're like, oh yes, Biden's the new president. I said, really? They've already done the electoral college? I thought that didn't happen until December. We know for a fact he got 270 electoral votes. It's news to me. But yeah, everything's always going to be crazy. Even down in the local elections, stuff happens. So anybody who was around for Ron Paul in 2012, I mean, down here in Louisiana, there was a literal fight breaking out for the Republican delegates. So yeah, if you don't think election fraud and voter fraud happens, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what planet you're living on.
Well, yeah, it always makes me think, elections were never legitimate. I mean, even within the status window, like it can't be. It can't be that elections are always, by the book down the line. There's no fraud ever taking place. I mean, do we ever know in like people like James Corbett and that whole crew, like I'm just all the names right now, Press for Truth, Dan Dixon, and they always call it the selection or James F. Media Monarchy. And so it's like, well, it's just the illusion of control. And I mean, do you believe that, I don't know if there's powers that be, do you think that they've already preached, do you think they chose Trump and that it was a plan? And do you think they've chosen Biden to win?
I think there's always some kind of selection process. Now, obviously, if the disparity of the votes gets to be too big, then they'll just kind of have to roll with it. And I think that may have happened in Trump's case. It's just he didn't win the popular vote, but the Electoral College was all like, no, anybody but Hillary. We can deal with a megalomaniac TV star at this point. And, sometimes you can see kind of how that all shook out because after he gets elected, then you have Comey going into the White House and say, oh, Mr. President, we have this dossier about Russian prostitutes peeing on you. And at that point, everyone knows he's a germaphobe. And he's not going to have Russian prostitutes pissing on him. So it's like, come on, guys. That's kind of goes back to that Bill Hicks joke of seeing the JFK assassination from an angle that nobody has ever seen before. And then it's like, do you have any questions? No, sir. What's my agenda?
Or kind of like how, I don't know, a lot of people talk about this, but how like Barack Obama's entire cabinet was chosen for him by Citigroup. And wasn't that before he was even elected?
Yeah, I mean, Barack Obama himself, I mean, could you get anybody of a deep state poster boy? You know, his mom was, CIA at one point. Uh, his real dad, who may have been Frank Marshall Davis, is a known communist and everything else. So you never know with these type of things. And that guy was definitely compromised with the whole Larry Sinclair thing and everything else that was going on. And of course, the birth certificate stuff. I know we don't want to go through the birther stuff again, but I mean, it's obviously a fake. It was a PDF, so it's like, I was like, you guys can't get any more on the nose with this kind of thing. But yeah, that presidency, and now we're having to rehash it again with Biden up there, and everyone wants to pretend like, kids in cages didn't happen under Obama. This was all Trump's fault and everything. I was like, yes, he could have ended the program, but he decided to keep it going, which is another problem.
Right. Yeah. What have you ever gotten into the Michelle Obama's actually Michael Obama thing?
Yeah, I love that so much. I don't think it's true, but it's always kind of fun to see how far people are willing to go. There was another picture of her and Obama, I guess, might have been like the early 2000s. And somebody had like doctored the photo to make her chin look bigger and a little more mannish. And I was like, okay, let me just screen grab the original, and then I'll just post that under people's little conspiracy theory tweets and everything. It's like, no, here's the real picture. I mean, she's obviously a woman, but I'll go along with the James Brown jokes all day long,
What about Bill Gates's wife being a man? Have you heard that one?
That's a new one on me. I know there was it was like, who is this woman? It's obviously not her, and they like show like an old picture from like the 1990s. Yeah, that Bill Gates, he just creeps me out. Here's a funny little thing, and this came from James Corbett's little "Who is Bill Gates" documentary thing that he did.
Yep.
If you're going out on a date, I didn't ask my wife for her SAT scores. That just seems a little weird.
It's always kind of like, I mean, Dave Smith says this, but like, who are these people?
Right. Well, I mean, we even go to the light side, Dark Woods, the light side Tom Woods, who actually helps out his libertarian podcasters. If they're not lizard people, they sure do act like them. So
right. Yeah. Well, and even so, this is evergreen. I don't know when this episode will be released, but Alex Jones was on with Tim Pool and Michael Malice last night.
Oh, it was fucking great.
I didn't get a chance to watch the whole thing, just the first like 20 or 30 minutes. But man, and without warning too, all of a sudden all these chat messages started coming in, and everyone's like, Alex Jones is on with Tim Pool and Michael Malice.
Yes. I didn't even know that was even happening, because I don't really pay too much attention to Tim Pool, because I like him on some stuff, and then there's other things where he just kind of trails off a status rabbit hole, and I'm like, okay, guy, come on, you're almost there. He's kind of like Joe Rogan in that he's like, you're so close, just step over the edge.
Well, I can't believe that Tim Pool has not been exposed to these ideas, because like, okay, so he knows who ANCAPs are, and like, right. Full disclaimer, I watch almost every one of Tim Pool's videos every day, and the reason I do that is because there's always content coming out. He always does current events, but I try to keep myself grounded by listening to someone who kind of disagrees with what I think.
Right. Yeah, that's always good. But
he used to hang out with Luke Rudkowski, or at least they've done stuff together. So I got to know that Luke has handed him some Mises at some point.
Yeah, at some point he's been a little, because you'll catch little glimpses of it here and there, but he's just so frustrating, because it's like, just the line is right there. Step over. It's fine. You'll be okay.
or he keeps, I don't know. It's always this disconnect that minarchists have, where they're like, oh, well, the free market can do everything better, except, well, we need a social safety net.
Yeah, courts, it's military, cops, why? That kind of thing. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
You're saying that some public goods are so important that we have to monopolize them, Yeah.
I've been having fun pointing that one out to people. It's like, yeah, courts. I mean, government doesn't need to be involved in that. I mean, they're just going to find for the government every single time. And, mediation and arbitration is like a growth industry right now, because people don't want to go through the courts. They would just rather pay somebody to adjudicate something for them.
Yeah.
No, it's like quite a lot of divorces happen that way now too.
Yeah. Or they make the process so miserable that you just have to what is that? I did divorce work for like a very short period of time, but it's like whenever they're contested is when things get really ugly. But they do this thing called, in our area it's called tri-mediation.
Yeah.
They get together and the mediator beats their heads together until they just come up with some kind of plan.
Right.
Yeah. Or like even with our car crashes. I mean, so before COVID happened and they froze jury trials, it was still 99% of car crash cases that would settle before trial.
Yeah.
But now it's like we have clients who are just in limbo for months and months and months. They keep saying, "Oh, well, we're going to get a plan in place." The Supreme Court said, "Okay, well, the circuit courts can be free to set up plans to resume jury trials according to our guidelines. Oh, but by the way, we can change those guidelines whenever we want, and if we want to lock down, we're just going to do it."
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the whole COOF thing is definitely exposed people's inner Nazis. I don't get it. So like some of it, it's like not even Joseph Stalin told people to walk around with a mask on, right, or tell you how much water your toilet can flush. It's like super authoritarianism. It's kind of a scary thing. It just makes your skin crawl.
Well, it's so upsetting to me that I try not to think about it. Like I can't. I've gotten a bit more vocal about it because it's like, okay, I mean, we're being rounded up right now and there's a crowd and the crowd is headed into the boxcar.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, a lot of us, I mean, people like you and I can see the boxcar, but this analogy, I'm going to try and stretch it, but it's like, we're in denial a little bit. Like, okay, well, we see the boxcar, but it's not really a boxcar, right? I mean, it could just be, I don't know, a budget people transporter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's you look at the boxcar, then you recognize that it is what it is, and you're standing right next to it by the time you realize it.
Yep.
So
well, you're still trying to deny it, being like, okay, well, I mean, so maybe this goes along with the analogy is, do I want to yell and start telling people that we're going into a boxcar because it might hurt my family? And what if I'm wrong and we're not going into a boxcar? Yeah. Or I know for sure that we're going into a boxcar, so I'm going to try and save my family because if we go in that boxcar, we're going to die no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I've often said I will try to find the lighter side and stuff and make a whole bunch of jokes, but there's going to come a time where I'm going to stop making jokes.
Yeah.
And that's when stuff is going to get serious.
Yeah. And like, I'm just wondering if, with all this talk of dark winters, and maybe it's just listening to doomer podcasts all the time. I don't know about you, but it's like, like I said, the talk of dark winter and doomer podcasts, and should I be stockpiling food?
I subscribed to your Instagram. I saw that you were reloading, so I was a little jealous. I was like, you found components.
Yeah. I don't know how, because so I take it you reload then.
I did for a long time, and all that stuff is now like collecting dust, and I don't have any primers. So like I'm like scratching around like a crackhead. It was like, y'all got any primers?
Well, so I was lucky because, okay, maybe you can set me straight on this. Is a FUD someone who's like your great uncle or your grandpa who believes only in like 1911 Colt 45s and doesn't like AR-15s, is into like Woodstock rifles and is not like Gucci like that? Or is a FUD someone who has guns, doesn't really use them, and is anti-Second Amendment?
I mean, not really anti-Second Amendment, but they believe the Second Amendment only applies to shooting Bambi in the face.
Okay.
Yeah, so like if they've got their 30-06, that's all they really care about. But they're not going to get anything with plastic or, a aluminum rifle chassis or anything like that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you've got like that next step down is the what I call diet FUD, where they may have like an AR-15, but then they have like $500 worth of gadgets on there. They made like a 7-pound rifle now into a 25-pound rifle.
Yeah. Well, then I've just been misusing it because I looked on Urban Dictionary because, well, I mean, I've grown up with, I've been around guns and hunting my whole life, but I've never gotten into guns. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so many people like that, but
Yeah, there's quite a lot. And surprisingly enough, in 2016, when Trump got elected, it's like now all my lefty progressive friends, it was like, how hard is it to get an AR-15? I was like, well, you're lucky you live in the state of Louisiana. It's very easy.
right.
As long as you don't have a criminal record, you can get one. But here, let me take you down to a gun show and you can buy it off the back of some guy's truck.
Hell yes. See, and then all the gun shows stopped because of COVID.
Yeah, we still have them down here, but they're like every 6 feet, so the line's usually pretty long to get in there, but now it's even longer.
Yeah.
And then, they've got like two people up in the front checking temperatures, and everyone's going to wear a mask inside. And they're only allowing like certain amount of people in at a time. And then once they're out, then the next group can come in. That's pretty dumb.
That's like the gun shops around here. I mean, no one cares at all about
Right.
the mask order. I like that, but I suppose, yeah. You're not talking about gun shops. You're talking about gun shows.
Yeah, and the ones that we have down here are usually held like in an event center somewhere. So like the max capacity can be like 200 people, but they're only going to allow 50 in at a time. It's something ridiculous.
Yeah. And well, Wisconsin is a weird, and it's like an anomaly because traditionally, historically, it's kind of a blue like labor state.
Right.
But you get out of town and it's red country. I mean, just look at the map, the electoral map.
Yeah, it's pretty much like Madison, Wisconsin is that sea of blue right there, that island of blue and a sea of red. Yeah.
Yeah, and well, Eau Claire County is pretty near to me, but it's like they call it, I don't know, it's kind of like the Portland of the Midwest.
Right.
Except the Twin Cities are the Portland of the Midwest, but
right.
It's just an island.
Yeah.
Like Bayfield or some places up north by Superior. Yeah. But
yeah. And some of the best deer hunting in the world is done right up there in Wisconsin and Minnesota and all that. So
well, I've been bad because I haven't actually harvested a deer since I was like 17.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I haven't done it since I was a teenager. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. I was in my early 20s the last time I shot at a hog. So
yeah. Well, I mean, I've gone out for maybe a couple days each year, but just haven't. Yeah. So I've really been wanting. My grandpa had he was in the National Guard in like the 50s, and he had a service M1 Grand. And nice. I don't know if he got to keep it or if he had bought it or if he got a surplus rifle, but we have the M1.
Yeah.
And I've been wanting to shoot a deer with it for the last 5 years.
Again, 30-06, it'll knock it in the mud. No problem.
Yeah. Yeah. And you'd be surprised because you would think that the recoil on it is pretty bad, but it's like shooting a Cadillac. It just absorbs everything. So
yeah, heavy steel, heavy wood. Yeah, it's not gonna be bad.
Well, and then we go like we do, a lot of people do the hunting where you have posters and you have drivers and stuff.
Right.
So when you're driving and trying to carry around that rifle, like, what is it, 13 or 14 pounds?
Yeah, it's a heavy guy.
It's heavy. Your arms get sore.
Yeah, that was one of the things that sucked when I was in the Army because of 6'1" and 190 pounds. It's like, okay, you get to carry it around the M60. I'm like, no. It's 25 pounds unloaded. Start adding a belt and everything. Ugh.
So, that's pretty awesome, though. I mean, do you? When's the last time you shot an M60?
I mean, it was literally basic training because at the time they were phasing it out for the 240 Bravo.
Oh, okay.
So it was the FN machine gun. Yeah, and it was actually kind of funny because while we were training, we found an M60 that had just been abandoned in the woods and it was all rusted and everything. That was laid up against a tree. And we found it and they had to check the serial and it was like, yeah, this was lost in 1985. And I was like, what?
Well, so educate me then on the. So am I thinking of does the FN, does that shoot the 5.56? Is it like what am I thinking of? The light machine gun, that's standard issue now?
Yeah, they have what's called a SAW, squad automatic weapon.
Yeah.
That'll shoot 5.56. And then its big brother is the 240 Bravo, which is the 762 by 51 or 308. Yeah.
Okay. So what are you a guy that has like an opinion on 5.56? Because I've kind of come of the opinion that we should have something like with a little more kick to it, like a little more oomph as like the standard issue cartridge.
Yeah. I mean, as far as kind of a little bit of best of everything, and just about anybody can use it, I don't have a problem with 5.56. You know, M193 ammo is preferable over M855. The steel tip penetrator, I mean, you're basically stabbing somebody with an ice pick. You're not really going to do a whole lot of damage. But the M193, since it's all lead, you know, it can tumble and yaw and everything else and really just fuck up somebody's day, you know?
Yeah.
So the last time I was on the range, some guy was like trying to sight it in. I was like, okay, that's great. You got 5 holes all within like a quarter. But it's 5.56. You really want to just spread the misery around. So put a couple in the lungs, put one down in the guts, you know, really just mess the guy up, you know? So, and he kind of looked at me, he's like, okay. It's like, don't make that guy mad. He's weird.
Well, you know, do you have any tattoos?
I have 2 tattoos.
Do you? Okay.
Yeah.
So, well, it's funny that you're in Louisiana. I don't know why I just asked if you had tattoos or not. I always think of interesting.
You're just building a profile, Fed. I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. What are they? Where are they? No. Well, I mean, like, I always think of interesting people, and interesting people say strange things, and they have like shitty tattoos.
No, my tattoos, I guess, could be considered shitty. I didn't spend a whole lot for them, and in fact, one of them I got for free. So no, it's kind of funny. I traded a guy color because I used to work at Kinko's when I was in Houston, and $50 for a tattoo. And then the other guy, I fell asleep halfway through it, and so he like took a picture and was using me for advertising. So he gave me the tattoo for free. Otherwise, it would have been like $200. So,
well, you know, any way you can get them.
Yeah.
But
well, I haven't gotten any in a long time. I really need to pick it up. Maybe get a whole sleeve, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I have a few. I think I don't know, I've worn like a cutoff in some videos or something, but I really need to add to them. I haven't had one since like I was 22, about 5 years. Yeah. But I was going to say, so my uncle was in the Air Force, and that's my connection to Louisiana, actually, is because he lived in Shreveport for a while, and he was like
Barksdale. Yeah.
Yeah, Barksdale. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I lived up in Shreveport for a little bit. Yep.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he always had a tattoo on his arm, and none of my uncles had tattoos except for him, but his nickname was Hobo. So he got that tattooed on his. Yeah.
Yeah, Barksdale is always kind of a fun place. That's where I got the PlayStation 3 when it first came out.
Oh yeah.
Some airman had it, and he was about to deploy, and they couldn't take it with him, so he sold it to me for like $200. So
there you go.
it was kind of a nice deal. And then we also have a local conspiracy theory about Barksdale, because it's called the Barksdale Bubble. So anytime that Louisiana gets a hurricane, it always seems to miss right around Barksdale Air Force Base, or any other kind of major storm event. It always seems to go around.
Huh.
Which we always thought was kind of strange.
Yeah, that's kind of. There's this when I was studying abroad in Germany, made me think of this. But when I was in college, there's this city called Bielefeld in Germany, and there's this urban legend that Bielefeld actually doesn't exist. And everyone plays around with it, so it's really kind of like it screws with your mind because everyone pretends that it doesn't exist, but there's a university there and everything, so it's just weird.
Man, those Germans really know how to do a joke. I mean, we can joke that Delaware doesn't exist, but you know.
That's a great German joke,
which is kind of an oxymoron, because you know we're always the ones that are. I was like, no, that is not funny because of this and.
Yeah, let's analytically take that apart.
Right.
Jeez. It's like that. Have you seen do you watch South Park at all?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
That episode of South Park with the funny bot?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always that's a classic. Actually, one of my favorites was Randy going over to China to get some of the China dollars.
Oh my God.
And running into Winnie the Pooh in jail and everything. It was hilarious.
Okay. I've been of the opinion that ever since South Park switched to like a serial, like where there's one continuous story through the whole season.
Right.
It's really gone downhill for me. But the pandemic special was like the best South Park in maybe between 5 and 8 years. I mean,
yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah. The pandemic special, it was kind of harkening back to those original episodes where each episode was kind of its own standalone thing, and a whole bunch of craziness and everything happened. But it's kind of like the Simpsons. It's been on forever, and not every season is a gold one.
Yeah.
The Simpsons, I mean, after season 7 and 8, it kind of goes downhill. And then like, what was it? 25, 26 and 27 were all pretty good. So it's,
yeah, they kind of get an injection or something like that. Well, I laughed hysterically when it was like, they just summed the whole coronavirus up to Randy having sex with a bat and getting, going on a bender with Mickey Mouse.
Yes. That Mickey character is like corporate America right there. It's so good.
Oh yeah. Especially pretending to care about wokeism, but not really caring at all.
Yeah, it definitely Bank of America. Anybody, it's like we care about racial equality. Sure you do.
A bat's just a mouse with wings, Randy. That was. Well, I do feel like there's like this trend of people who were formerly libertarians who have come out and like renounced libertarianism, and I don't know if Matt Stone and Trey Parker were some of those, but like Penn Jillete, I don't know if you saw this, just came out on CNN saying that we have to fall in line behind Joe Biden, and he says,
he voted for Hillary Clinton in the last election.
Did he really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Just tore my heart out.
He's always kind of seemed like a reasoned libertarian. I mean,
yeah, he's always he's going to give you like the utilitarian argument for everything.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I wouldn't have a beer with him, but I mean, after all that, you're kind of like, I don't really like him too much anymore.
Well, you know what? I would have a beer with Penn Jillete. I mean, he always reminded me of like a modern day Ben Franklin for some reason. I don't know if it's just his appearance. Maybe that's totally weird, but
Patrick McFarlane's brain works in mysterious ways.
I know, man. It does.
There's some connections going on there.
There's so many weird connections tonight. It's been a shit week, man. It really has.
Yeah, and we ended on Friday the 13th.
Right. Well, I'm surprised the world didn't implode today.
Yeah. No, I mean, that happened the other night with Michael Malice on Tim Pool with Alex Jones. So
yeah, right.
One of the greatest things was Michael Malice had posted this picture of a box with aluminum foil in it. And he goes, I have the documents. And I was like trying to figure out what the hell he was talking about. Then everyone was telling me he was on with Alex Jones and Tim Pool. I was like, oh, that is great.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should have figured that the tinfoil hats would come out.
Oh, yeah. And he literally put one on during the stream. So it was...
Yeah. And well, I saw that YouTube took the video off.
Yes. Yeah. I saw Tim Pool's tweet about that a little while ago, just before coming on. And it was like, yes, YouTube has pulled it because they say the community guidelines were violated, which Alex did. So he was owning it.
Well, yeah. But I know Tim had said that was the most watched IRL podcast episode that he's done.
Yeah.
Like, do you have any idea how many people, like, when Joe Rogan live streams a show, how many people are watching at one time? Is it more than 200,000?
It's in the millions.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. No, he is the biggest. Joe Rogan is the biggest thing on the planet. He gets more listeners and viewers than CNN and Fox News. And I think it's combined.
Yeah. But what I mean though is like watching live. Is it in the millions watching live?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Joe Rogan doesn't do live shows anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because he was having a problem with people like retweeting it or reposting it on YouTube channels.
Okay.
Yeah, so he had to stop doing that. But yeah, even the live ones were pretty big. It was in the thousands. So
yeah,
because if you're gonna do it like 10 o'clock in the morning, people at work, some of the stuff they get, but no, just this thing out there, and I'm still to learn that Joe Rogan offered Joe Jorgensen to be on, and she said no. I can't believe it.
Oh, really? I had
yes.
Yeah. I wonder if she got too nervous or something. Which like
cited a work commitment. That's like I have work commitments, and I would have made time for Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
I would have called in sick that day.
Yeah. You don't say no to Joe Rogan. I mean,
isn't it a college professor? Think of how many more kids you would have reached.
Yeah. Well, that's true. Well, I don't know. Like, far be it from me. Did you also know? I heard somewhere that, Joe Jorgensen is into steampunk. Have you heard this?
That wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
He seems like he'd be a little bit nerdy like that.
I mean, but like, I don't know. I'm not. I guess I'm kind of a strange person. But why can't like libertarians or like people in the LP just be normal, like regular ass like a doctor or a lawyer? Or I don't know, like whatever.
Well, I had one of my friends run for Senate down here, and he's a brain surgeon. So
yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot, but we're kind of a quirky bunch.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Let me walk that back, because I don't mean to infer that only serious people are like professionals or anything like that. But you know what I mean. It's like,
yeah, I mean, you even have like construction workers and everything that are libertarians, and sure, they've got an odd thing here or there, but I know what you mean. I have seen my share of spazzes and everything. It's definitely the Libertarian Party has a pervert problem. Just to say that, if like one female shows up, there's like 9 guys hanging around. Yeah.
Well, I can see that too. You see all the simping on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I make total fun of that too. Simping ain't easy, baby.
Yeah. No, it's real funny. I mean, I've been to a few libertarian events, like in person. There was this thing in the Twin Cities that I dragged my wife to. I gave a speech at that. It's an episode of the podcast. I can't remember, Agora Symposium or something like that.
Okay. And
there were, I don't know, a total of maybe 30 people there. And in that room, I think my wife got accosted by someone who started talking to her about these really strange sexual proclivities.
You know how you do with a random stranger you just met?
They were talking about being an otherkin. I don't know if you.
Oh yes, they like to dress up like owls and
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, hey, different strokes for different folks. I'm more of a conservative, socially person, but whatever.
Yeah, I would just say this: you haven't partied until you've partied with Star Child. So
yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I need to make it to more like. Have you been to Childerberg?
I was at the first one, and the second one, because of the whole scamdemic and everything, I couldn't go. But the third one, May 29th through the 31st, I will definitely be there.
Damn, I already need to block that off on my calendar.
Yes, I've already requested vacation for that day and everything. So,
yeah. Well, I got to plan around just a few life events, which I'll be purposely vague about. But
yeah, I'm no stranger to that. I mean, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, we scheduled weddings around LSU football games. So
yeah, well, I'm familiar with that. Yeah. But it's actually been kind of a weird thing where, people in Wisconsin love the Packers, and for good reason. But
yeah, it's y'all's team.
So many people. Well, that's true. I actually do. I actually have stock. My dad bought it for me. But my dad won't watch the Packers anymore. because of, all of this, all of the social justice stuff.
Yeah, the football. Oh man, that the first game where they're all taking a knee together after the kickoff, and I'm like, and then you hear like the crowd that did show up, they're booing.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like, just play football.
Yeah.
Devote a commercial break to it, and that's it.
Right. And but the pandering to it, the Packers even went even more, like they put something on the sideline too, I think. But they gotta be feeling it more. I don't know how they go from like these patriotic flyovers to that.
Well, the patriotic flyovers were provided by Department of Defense, so
it's true. Yeah,
that whole stuff. Somebody was talking about that. It was like, well, the football man shouldn't kneel and everything. I was like, this only started back in like 2009,
right?
When the Department of Defense started sinking a whole bunch of money in the NFL. I was like, prior to that, you barely even saw the national anthem on TV.
Well, see, that's crazy because I don't remember a world where that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And I do remember there was some kind of a thing like the weekend after 9/11, there was some Packer player who is not memorable at all who like ran through the field with the flag.
Yeah.
And there's a painting of it that you sometimes see.
Yeah, it's like after 9/11, it's like you got a few displays here and there, but it wasn't way over the top. At least I don't remember. Of course, that was also about the time I like kind of gave up on football a little bit, but
yeah. Are you a Saints fan then, or are you from Louisiana?
Not originally. Louisiana is just kind of where I ended up. I was born in Omaha, Nebraska, so go Huskers. I think they stamp a Husker fan for life on your birth certificate when you're born there.
Yeah. Well.
So I've lived out west in Nevada, down in Texas, Georgia when I was in the Army, back in Louisiana. I've tried leaving this state so many times, and it keeps dragging me back. It's like a black hole. I can't leave.
Well, I think Stephen Kinsella is originally from Louisiana too.
Yeah, he got his degree at LSU. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so are you a Saints fan then, or?
Oh yeah. I love the Saints, and it was really weird that little time I had moved up to Dallas and couldn't escape because I go into a Walmart there and I was like, oh, there's Dallas Cowboys shit all over the place. Ooh.
Well, I think we can agree to hate the Cowboys.
Yes.
Although it's always been weird because I've been, I'm probably supposed to hate the Bears and the Vikings a lot. I've always hated the Lions the most because they would always pull the upset wins at Thanksgiving, and for some reason that just really pissed me off.
Yeah, it's like the Detroit Lions. It's like every now and then they'll just have like really great games, and then all of a sudden they're just terrible again. You can't ever put your finger on it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm as much as I hate to admit it, like Matt Stafford is a good quarterback.
He is. Yeah. He can scramble a little bit. He's not the fastest runner in the world, but
he's got a good arm, pretty accurate. A decent head.
Yeah.
Seems like he always struck me as being kind of like a bro. But then again, Aaron Rodgers is our quarterback, so
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Drew Brees, didn't he kind of like he rejected all of the wokeism, didn't he?
Yeah, there was at one point he was like trying to excuse it away, and it just made it worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's. I've met the guy in person a couple times, and there's not really a whole lot going on behind the eyes with that guy. But it's like he's got a head for football, and that's pretty much it. You try to get him outside of that, and it's nothing.
I wonder if he's had one too many concussions, or
that could be it too.
Probably just likely that. Yeah, that's all. It's like that episode of SpongeBob SquarePants where he erases everything in his head. And he can only remember fine dining and breathing. Have you seen that? I'm not just talking into thin air.
Yeah, SpongeBob SquarePants. That's that was a little bit after my time as far as afternoon.
I'm sure
cartoons because I'm 41, so
making all the strange connections here. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I get the memes. I like posting the chicken SpongeBob every now and then, and posting the condescension. It's always fun.
Oh yeah, or my favorite one is like, "We did it, Patrick. We saved the city."
Yeah, that's all on fire. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good one. But
Yeah, and then the few times I watched it with the kids and everything, there's a bunch of adult jokes in there. It's like, man, I missed quite a bit here.
well, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, I don't know if it's the most recent one, but it's ripe for like libertarian analysis because it turns into like a Mad Max world.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really interesting actually, and I thought it was really funny. But
Oh, they've had a couple of movies. I think the last one that I watched had Antonio Banderas in there playing a redheaded pirate, which was really, really strange.
I really
There he goes, culturally appropriating me.
Yeah, right. You should be pissed.
Oh man, redheads get the total shaft and
I'm
everything.
sure. Yeah. Well, you don't have souls, right? I mean,
No, that's a common misconception. We
we
get a new freckle for each soul that we consume. So one could say we are very soulful.
Oh, wow. One way to put it. Well, then they came out and said that SpongeBob SquarePants is asexual. So that's why you never see him with any partners or anything.
I mean, if the squirrel couldn't get there, I mean,
Yeah, that's Sandy Cheeks.
yes,
Well,
not
geez.
Sandy Hook. We're not mentioning that.
Oh, right. Yes, that. Yeah. I actually looked into that. I'm pretty open-minded.
Yeah, there was a lot of squirrely stuff that happened there.
Some squirrely stuff, if I recall.
Yeah, that's one of those things. It was like, wait, so this happened and this happened? Okay.
I can't remember the name of that guy who was the main guy that came out against it, saying that it was all staged.
Alex Jones was one of those.
No, it was Alex
apologize
Jones
for it, but
he talked to this. Alex Jones talked to this guy, and he was like a school safety officer or a consultant for like 30 years.
yeah.
I don't know if you remember his name. It was something like German sounding.
Well, to you, everything is German sounding.
That's true.
That's not narrowing it down there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
I think I know who you're talking about, but like you, the name is drawing a blank.
Yeah,
and I want to say something with a bunch of E's and I's in it. And,
yeah, it's like Wolfgang or something.
Yeah, it's very Wolfgang.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, when 9/11 engineers and architects for 9/11 Truth, when they all come out and sign the petitions and have their conferences and
it's a lot of good stuff out of there.
yeah.
It's the whole bunch of 9/11 Truth organizations out there. There's pilots for 9/11 Truth, scholars for 9/11 Truth, architects and engineers. That was another one.
The pilots basically are they saying that there's no way that at that speed that you could make those maneuvers and hit the target?
Oh, yeah, there was an entire video out there that did a pretty deep dive where one guy had exposed like some of the instrument readings from the black box. It was like, no, he was actually 4,000 feet higher than he actually was because they didn't adjust it for this state plane that he was in. And, kind of working in civil engineering, I kind of understand all that because, I can get a elevation over here in Louisiana and I can't use those same measurements when I'm working over in Texas, that type of stuff. So, but yeah, they had, it's like, you couldn't even get a computer simulation to run it all that well and still maintain airspeed when the plane's like literally floating a foot above the ground to hit the Pentagon and everything. So it was, yeah, there's been whole videos done on that stuff. And so yeah, at some point I just had to look at it and it was like, okay, just like the JFK assassination, these people will never be brought to justice.
Right. Yeah.
I can dispel the official government conspiracy theory in a sentence, and I shouldn't be able to do that. Like cell phones don't work above 3,000 feet, and not every single plane had a air phone at the time. But so the little phone calls before people hit the tower or the plane fell into Pennsylvania, after being shot down, of course, but we're not going to talk about that either. But
well, and then it's like, okay, well, you don't have to, the onus is not on us to provide an alternative explanation as to what really happened.
right.
Like, we have to do is disprove the theory, the official story.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember Corbett always had said, okay, well, let's not get caught up in explaining how they did it.
Yeah.
It's just, I still want to know how, though. Damn.
Yeah. That's good. It's just one of the great questions. I can usually get people on board with the bare minimum lowest common denominator. I was like, okay, I can't tell you exactly what happened. I don't know who's at fault, but we do know that it was definitely used to get us involved into 2 illegal wars overseas.
It's like the whole angle of even if it wasn't a conspiracy, you don't even have to believe it was a conspiracy to think that it was just horribly awful, or that it was used to justify illegal wars.
Yeah. Because at that point, like, the first thing everyone's talking about is like, oh, I guess we'll have to go invade Iraq. It's like, wait, hold on, guys.
So whenabouts were you in the Army then?
Oh, I was in 1998. I got there like in May 1998, Fort Benning, Georgia. I was going to do my basic and my infantry training there. And then by November, I was about to go into jump school, and they found a hernia, and they couldn't really fix it. So I got discharged out after that. So I was only in for like 5 months, but
okay.
Yep, it was a fun time. Also, some really fun things happened on that one. We were doing some training, and we were learning how to take prisoners, which is important when you're infantry. You might storm into a place, and you got to get information out of people. So one of the drill sergeants thought he'd be really, really hilarious and just say, okay, now you're going to be the group that's going to get captured, but I want you to throw a monkey wrench in there. I want you to say, I'm an American citizen. I have rights. So which hand shot shoots up. Drill sergeant, when are we ever going to be arresting Americans? And he goes, oh, you remember those riots in 93 in Los Angeles? It's like, yeah. One day they'll beg for us. I was like, oh, okay.
Huh.
I'll just keep that one away later.
That is interesting. Jeez.
Yeah.
So, stuff. Well, so would you have still been in 2001?
Yeah, if I had the hernia fixed and still went through training and everything, I would have, a 4-year enlistment, so 98, so 2002.
I see.
And, at that point, you might as well re-enlist, so, yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe you dodged a bullet there.
I probably did, because 1998 was when Osama bin Laden took credit for bombing the Khobar Towers in Kenya. So Fort Benning went on full lockdown. So I got a little brief glimpse of what martial law would look like, because we had MPs all over the post. So that was kind of fun, doing a morning run and, a couple of streets being blocked off with Humvees with 50 cals on top. So.
Did you shoot a 50 cal in basic?
No, I got to see it shot.
Yeah.
I did get to shoot an AT missile, which was kind of fun.
Mm.
No recoil on that. It actually kind of pushes you a little bit.
Oh.
So yeah, I got to spend $40,000 of your money. So
yeah. Well, thanks. Well, I had the first job that I got. My first job as a lawyer was for an attorney in town here, and he's still, I think he's still active National Guard, where he's like some kind of an officer, but he has made just a boatload of money in his legal practice,
right?
And he's into collecting guns and reloading. And he gave me 150 cal round. He's like, this is like $3.
Yeah. It's probably like $9 now with inflation and everything.
Yeah,
so
probably.
It's like,
well, and things just didn't work out professionally, but I really, in an alternate world, I wish that it had, because I'm sure we would have gotten along really well. But yeah, he owns a tank.
Nice.
He had bought a tank that he refurbished, and I think he bought like a Jeep and some other. So I mean, it's not just milsurp rifles. He's actually out there refurbing tanks. So cool.
Yeah, there's a one of the lawyers here in town has got an old Army Deuce and half that he likes to drive around town, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like it's all camo, but except for his little logo on the door. It was like, come on, guy.
Yeah, it's like all those great with the infomercials. You also get those ads for the law firms on the local television.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got one really insidious guy down here called Gordon McKiernan. So his advertising billboard budget is in the six figures.
I'm sure, yeah.
So he's got like a standing deal. Anytime that they're in between like companies paying for ad space, he just gets one of his billboards thrown up there. And they are all over the place.
Yeah.
We even joked it's like the first billboard seen on Mars, and it's a Gordon McKiernan billboard off in the distance on Mars. It was hilarious.
Is it a personal injury lawyer?
Oh yeah. He's personal injury all the way. Yeah,
of course. Ambulance chaser.
Oh yeah, but I mean he's everywhere.
Yeah.
So as soon as you cross state lines into Louisiana, you will see a Gordon McKiernan billboard. So
does he have a cowboy hat on?
No, he doesn't have a cowboy hat. He wears like a regular suit, but it's like a couple of the TV ads. He's standing on top of an 18-wheeler, you know.
Original.
Yeah. You know, like every other personal injury attorney everywhere in the universe.
Truck accidents.
Oh yes. There's company involved. There's deep pockets.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Right. I mean, usually people just have liability coverage for maybe $100,000. Probably 300 is kind of 300,000 is the going rate. So I guess you get pretty messed up before you get into that permanent injury territory. Then it'll cost you.
It's like, obviously I can't go back to work.
Yeah. I better get on Social Security disability.
Yes. Just become a complete sponge. Yeah, There you go.
Yeah, man. Well, I'm really glad that we could do this. And we're kind of running up against time, but so you want to tell the audience a bit about where they can find your work?
Yep, you can find it anchor.fm / Rebel with a Cause. You can go back into the back catalog there. I've got a whole bunch of great episodes. I've had Pete, like we mentioned before, Scott Horton, just had a couple of other big ones. Naomi Brockwell, Tatiana Moroz has been on there. And then, of course, a whole bunch of people from the Twitter sphere. So like Bird from the Fadcast, Dexter De La Paz. I've had a whole bunch of people on there. It's a pretty fun time. So catch up with those episodes before I start dropping new ones in February for sure.
Yeah. You've had some great guests, man. And I want before you go, I wanted to ask you. I know you're on Library or lbry.tv.
Yes.
And you have like some followers there.
Yeah, I noticed. I was like, I don't get notifications for that. So every time I logged in to like upload like the video version, which is just my background and the audio, and it's like I see like it went from like 2 to like 4. At one point, I got 7 on there right now. It's kind of fun. But
yeah. Well, I was gonna ask you like, well, maybe then you don't know exactly how you actually get followers on there because like I got in at the ground level with BitChute. And
yeah. On BitChute as well, so that's fun.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, listeners will find you on BitChute too. But when I started posting, it was like, I don't know, your video appeared on the front page, and it stayed there for a little while.
Nice.
But I didn't have trouble getting new BitChute viewers then, but yeah. So, well, anyways, man, we'll have to do this again. I'm really glad that we connected, and I might have to wait, I guess, until you're off hiatus. But enjoy it, dude. Enjoy it.
Oh yeah. I got a special project on the brain, so it'll definitely be fun. But like I said before, something will happen, and I'll have to get behind the microphone for something. It's just gonna happen. I know it.
Yeah, I'm sure it will. Well, anyways, man, thanks for coming on again, and have a good night.
No problem. Thanks for having me on, Pat.